Welcome back to 5 Miles Easy. Before we kick off the show, we have a little favour to ask. If you're enjoying listening, please rate and review us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. And if you're enjoying watching, then please like, subscribe and share on YouTube, as it helps us reach more people.
That essentially is my why. You know, it brought me closer to my sister, put a smile on my mum and dad's face. And that was his last request, was I'd like you to do London Marathon. Apologised and said, look, we're really sorry, we missed this. You got 4 holes in your heart. I remember saying to the doctors, like, oh, when you fix this, do you think I'll be able to run faster than I have done? I used to say this to Steph, like, you know, we all have 24 hours in our day, like, you know, and it's so true, like, it's how you prioritise that time.
This week, we're going to be joined by a man with over 30 years running experience under his belt. He started running at just 11. He's run a sub 15-minute 5K, a 2-hour 22 marathon, and perhaps most incredibly, his best performances came after discovering that he had a heart defect, which led to a major heart surgery. Without wanting to spoil too much of the episode, Quinn really does have just an incredible and such a heartwarming comeback story. Now juggles his training with being a father of 3 and running his own coaching business, Real Runners, which provides coaching programs to schools, as well as one-to-one coaching to athletes of all levels.
I'm really excited to chat to Kev, and there's actually a story that Kev may not know, and it's another positive thing that came out of his heart surgery, which is it is a reason that I slid into Joe's DMs.
No way. Wait, you've got to tell us more about this.
And when I say slid into his DMs, this is coming up to 8 years ago now, so it was Facebook Messenger. And Kev was about to have his surgery, and I was in charge of the good luck card at the track. So at the time I was a member of South London Harriers, so Tuesday track night I was getting everyone to sign this good luck card for his operation, and when I got home I read all the messages in that card, and Joe's was one of them, and it really made me laugh. And I'm really trying to, I really racked my brain as to what it said, but it was something along the lines of like, good luck for your next race, or like good luck for a race rather than like good luck for the operation. And it was funnier than that, but I was like, oh, this is a reason to message him and to say like, your message really made me laugh. And that was the first message I ever sent to Joe.
Oh my gosh,
almost 8
okay.
years ago.
You need to tell Kev that today. That's so cool.
I will.
Aww.
But yeah, how has your week been?
My week has been good. It's been a good week of running, big week of training actually. But all fun stuff. How's yours been? You had a race.
I did have a race. It was a 5-mile race.
Okay.
So 5 miles, not so easy.
Right.
5 miles hard. Yeah, which is a weird distance actually. I've never raced 5 miles before. It was a road race. But it was really good actually. The course was a bit twisty turny, but it was fine. Like, you know, it's a 5-mile race. I was just doing it to like get a good hard effort in, see where I'm at. And I was really happy with how it went. Yeah.
Tell us how it went.
Well, I won it, which
Amazing.
is obviously a nice tick.
Yeah.
But I think for me, you know, winning's great, but for me, it was more, I felt very mentally strong during it, and I didn't really know, because 5 miles, I didn't really know what the time would mean, but like in terms of the pace, it would, if I'd like held that pace, it would have like smashed my 10k PB. And so it's only like another mile more of running, which I actually think like on a less twisty course, like I definitely could have held that pace. So for me, I just came away with a like really positive experience. So,
yeah, I love how casual you are about just winning it. You know, that was great, but you know, I was also really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I know. I mean, obviously, I would not take winning for granted, but I just think the journey that I've come on with racing, to me, like I take way more away from some of the other aspects than just a win. Because if I won it, but still like, I don't know, if it wasn't a positive experience, it wouldn't.
Yeah, so the biggest win is actually the process and your mindset.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
So I'm feeling good
Well
about
done.
that. Yeah. And then, so for listeners that tuned in, I think it was a couple episodes ago now, where we spoke about you being chucked out of Clapham Chasers and then rejoining. You have redeemed yourself.
I have redeemed myself. So after that whole drama, I then had a real guilty feeling. I was like, you know what? Maybe I deserve to be kicked out. Maybe I don't do enough for the club. And I hold my hands up to say I have not really participated to the club in at least a couple of years. I mean, obviously I don't do the sessions because I've got a coach and I have my own plan, which I think is acceptable. But I also have not really contributed in any other way. So I suddenly felt really guilty about this and was like, you know what? The social run goes from the starting point is literally about 2 minutes from my house. So I really have no excuse. It's on a Monday night. And apart from the fact that, you know, it's dark and cold, but everyone gets out there in the dark and cold, so I can do it too. And I put my hand up and I led one of the groups for the social run. So I have to say I felt a lot better about myself and also a bit less scared about going to the Christmas party because at least the people who went to the social run will now know that I'm a member and will hopefully not boo me. So it was kind of a dual purpose and also, of course, just a nice thing to do and speak to some people. Not that I really knew that many people there because I haven't been for ages. But
I always think things like the social runs are always just such a good way to meet new people. And
I have to say, so that was the first run I ever did when I moved to London. And that was basically how I got into running, was I turned up at that social run. So yeah, I've come full circle.
Oh, I love that. And then on the subject of Christmas parties, we've got a few sort of Christmas events coming up, and I'm sure a lot of listeners do as well. And I guess one of the things that we have to think about during this time is like, how do we juggle it all, like getting our training in, but actually you want to commit to some of these fun events because it's important to do that as well, and it's exciting. But what do you do how do you plan ahead when you might have like a hard session the day after one of these?
It's a tricky time of year, isn't it? And I have to admit, I feel like this week I've overcommitted myself.
Yeah.
I've overcommitted myself socially. And just in terms of every day I've got like some event on, and I feel like for the last kind of 7 days I haven't had a run where I'm like, right, I literally have to leave right now and I have exactly 70 minutes to fit in my 70-minute run, which doesn't factor in stopping at traffic lights. So I've had quite a few where I've had to kind of tempo the last mile, including my cool down the other day, which was so grim. And I got back from this hard session and I run back from the park as my cool down, which is mostly uphill. And I had to really put the gas on for the last bit, which was so hard. And I walked through the door it was like 2 minutes to the hour and my call was in 2 minutes. So.
Very impressive.
But you know what the great thing about being a pro runner is, and I couldn't do this when I was a lawyer, it's kind of acceptable to turn up to your Zoom meeting sweaty.
Yeah, it's your work attire.
I'm sorry, I just finished a session.
This is what I wear to work. So this is my suit.
But yeah, I think in terms of tips, honestly, it's realizing it's only a small period of time.
Yeah.
And it might not be your normal schedule. And I think that's kind of all right.
Yeah.
I think it's being all right with, it might just be a little bit less training or it might be a bit disruptive, but it's not going to make that big a difference to your overall plan.
Yeah, and I sometimes think, it's almost worth it sometimes having to rush some runs and like cramming things in because it is fun.
Yeah.
Like Christmas is a fun time and I'd rather be able to do those things and try and fit in the runs with it than just be able to have the freedom of running and then say no to everything. So.
Exactly. Otherwise you start to resent it.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but how is your Christmas schedule looking? Are you...
this week is, I guess, similar to you. There's just something every day. And then the weekend's coming up. It is similar, but like I said, it's going to be fun. Yeah.
And on that note, should we crack on with the show?
Let's do it.
Thanks for joining me, Rose Harvey.
And me, Steph McCall.
For 5 Miles Easy.
The podcast where we go behind the scenes on the highs, lows and learnings of our running journeys.
And bring you conversations to inspire, motivate and get you one step closer to your running goals.
So let's lace up for 5 Miles Easy. Thanks so much, Kev, for coming on 5 Miles Easy. We can't wait to dig into everything about your running journey. But first question that we ask all our guests is, what is your why when it comes to running?
I guess I've got tons of different whys, but I think, my number one why is I'm fortunate to be able to run. So I guess I just remind myself that I'm lucky I've got 2 arms, 2 legs, so I can put one foot in front of the other. So yeah, that's my why, really.
Awesome. And you've been running for many years, since you were 11, I think, was kind of when you got into running. And how did that start? How did you get into running when you were 11?
Yeah, I guess so I found running when I was 11 years old. I played football as a kid. When I was 9, my younger sister sadly passed away when she was 3 years old. So it was obviously pretty crap time as a 9-year-old. Parents were completely broken. And I remember her anniversary when I was 10 was really sad. It was awful, parents broken. On her second anniversary, there was a race that was happening on the same day as Lucy's anniversary. So I participated in this race. It was the London Mini Marathon Trials over at Wimbledon Common. And I just thought it'd be something nice for us all to do. So parents were shocked that I wanted to give this race a go, but it just took us away from all the rubbish on that particular day, the memories. And anyhow, I did this race, and I think it was the first 8 qualified for the London Mini Marathon, and I finished 8th. So I made the team for Merton to run in the London Mini Marathon. So I then had to train. I then had to run a little bit more because I had this race coming up. The following week, there was a program called The Help Squad on TV, Michael Parkinson and Annabelle Giles, and they were looking for runners who were doing the London Marathon. So as an 11-year-old boy, I wrote into the show and said that I had just qualified for London Mini Marathon. They were looking for runners to raise money for adults and kids with cerebral palsy, which is what my younger sister sadly died of. A week later, they got in touch. They asked me to go onto the show, and they followed my journey leading up to London Mini Marathon. And it was lovely. We raised loads of money for kids and adults with cerebral palsy, loads of different institutes. And I guess I just become hooked, kind of that essentially is my why. It brought me closer to my sister, put a smile on my mum and dad's face. So yeah, after that, 11-year-old boy, I was hooked with running.
Oh, well, that's such an amazing story. And I know, so many people, and I'm sure a lot of people listening to this podcast, run and kind of sign up, especially for marathons, for charity and for a cause. But to do it at such a young age is just amazing. But you also, you signed up for that incredible cause and to raise money, but you're also really good. So what did your training look like? Because it's not like you just kind of did that race and then, tick the box, raised the money and stopped. You were obviously very naturally talented and went on to be a very good junior. So kind of what did your I think actually just that day, I think I knew that like the top 8 qualified for this race, and because it was on her anniversary, I like really dug in deep and hurt myself. I remember finishing the race just being in agony. I think I actually cried maybe after the race. So yeah, I don't know. I didn't really train a great deal. Just did a bit of football, bit of rugby, all different sports. But I then, I guess, found an athletics club, started running with my athletics club, and just you meet loads of friends, don't you? Good social groups. So to be honest, I can't remember a lot as a kid. Maybe because my sister passing away, like I can remember her, but I can't remember a great deal of my childhood. Just because my parents were fantastic and never neglected us, but it was really sad, losing a child when 3 years old. But yeah, I guess just like any kid, just went to the track and just got a bit better, and just did a few races. And always had that amazing focus to keep driving you forwards. Yeah,
I think like bereavement, it can drive you forward, and and just every time it did hurt, I again just thought about how lucky I was to be able to do this. You know, I seeing my sister for her 3 years of her life, struggling to walk, talk, breathe, have fits often, but she was incredibly stubborn and determined, and she was a brave little girl. So, yeah, I guess when it does hurt, I remind myself of that and just keep digging in and push forward.
And then as you got a bit older, you're in some quite impressive training groups and surrounded yourself with very high-level athletes, the likes of Mo Farah, Scott Overall, etc. So what did running mean to you then? Like, what got you so involved in sticking at it and being around those sorts of people?
Yeah, I think I love the sport. I mean, I love running. It's a terrific sport. I love the times, the stats, and, you know, like, love watching the major championships. I think, you know, I did a master's at St Mary's University, so, you know, it's a magnet for running around there. It's a great running community. So you just find yourself kind of in that bubble, in that circle. I guess they're just your mates, aren't you? You know, you're just hanging around your mates, you're around your friends and stuff. It was good. Yeah, good laugh, good crack. So, yeah, it was, although it was a hobby, it was also just something that I really liked doing.
You obviously, you did the mini marathon and then moved up to the full marathon. So was it just something you'd always been aiming for? You know, since you ran that mini marathon, did you always want to run a marathon, or what got you into it?
Yeah, I think London Marathon was always pretty special to me. I think, you know, I found my running because of Lucy, but also London Marathon was the race that really gave me that drive and to continue running. So London Marathon 2005, I think it was, I had a friend, Pete Riley, who's a really good runner. He come and stayed with us. He was doing London Marathon. He finished 10th in the race. And after the race, there was like an after party, and he asked if I wanted to go as his +1. So I went to the after party, and it was good fun. And I phoned up my dad and told him how Peter had got on, and told him about the party was brilliant. You know, seeing all the Kenyans dancing and just being, you know, different, just having fun, you know, as opposed to just being 100% focused on the goal of running fast. And my dad said to me, "I'd love you to do London Marathon next year." And I said, like, possibly, you know, I doubt it, but maybe in a few years. Anyhow, my dad sadly the next day died of a heart attack. And that was his last request, was, "I'd like you to do London Marathon." So I had to do it. So following year, 2006, did London Marathon, and hated it. It was, you know, we raised loads of money for British Heart Foundation, and again, adults and children with cerebral palsy. So that was wonderful. But the actual race, I didn't do the homework. I wasn't prepared for it. I thought it was, you know, 10K times 4, it'd be easy. And it was so hard. It was brutal.
You really have to respect the distance, don't you?
God, I definitely didn't respect it, Steph. It was horrible.
So what made you go back and for more?
I think I just had unfinished business over the race. It took me a while to, kick my demons to the side, and my ego was broken. And so, I mean, it did take me a while before I eventually did another one. I think it was maybe 9 years before I went back to London. I'd done a few marathons in between, I think like New Forest, I think I'd paced maybe Prague. But yeah, I went back to London Marathon in 2015 and trained really hard. Had done the homework, was ready for it, and went there, had a really positive experience, enjoyed it, and ran 2:25.
You've gone on to run even faster. You've done 2:22 in a marathon.
Yeah.
But what is super impressive is that happened after quite a major heart surgery. So can you just tell us a bit about that kind of aspect of your story and what happened there?
Yeah, so it was actually after that race, that 2:25. It was almost immediately after the race, I started to get some pains in my chest. I'd be lying in bed and it just felt like someone was sitting on my chest. There'd be a couple of times I'd wake up, look in the mirror, and my lip had dropped. Just thinking, this is odd, this is weird. You know, there's no way I could have had a stroke, and I'd be pushing around my lip, trying to force it back into position, and it would go. Like later on in the day, it would just move back up. By this time, I think Poppy, my daughter, was born. So had 3 kids. Poppy was 6 weeks old. And thinking back to my dad having a heart attack, I thought, I better get this checked out. I'm sure it's nothing, but it might be something. So I had an ECG with my doctor, and I think that nothing really flagged up, but the pain still kept on happening. So cardiac risk in the young, they kindly said they would see me. They did some tests on me, like a 12-lead ECG. I think they did like an exercise test. Said they work on a traffic light system where green's normal, amber flags something up, red, this is bad. And they said something had flagged up, so they gave me like an amber warning. But because I was an athlete and I just run 225, they said, like, your heart is, I'm sure it's absolutely fine, you know. So I thought, great, it's all in head. And as I was leaving, a student nurse asked if they could scan my heart and compare it to the general public's. So they were looking at athletes' hearts and general public's hearts, seeing if there was any discrepancy. And I was in such a rush, I almost sacked it off, because Gabby was at home with the 3 kids, and they were quite young at the time. I think like 4, 2, and a 6-week-old baby. So I phoned Gab up and said, look, I'm going to be a bit late. They want to scan my heart again. So a woman took me into the room. She was lovely. She was chatting away with me. Good. She was really friendly. And then all of a sudden the atmosphere just changed. She was doing an echograph, and she stopped talking to me, and she told me to take a seat in the corner. I went in the corner. She pressed the button. Loads of these cardiologists come into the room, and the guy that had told me everything was okay, really nice bloke, he just apologised and said, look, we're really sorry, we missed this. You got 4 holes in your heart. Biggest one is 1.8 centimetres in your upper chamber, and we need to operate pretty quickly because it's pretty bad.
If you want to up your running game with a Runna coaching plan, you can get 2 weeks free with the code 5miles, that's the number 5, the word miles, on the Runna coaching app.
What does that mean for us
So
that don't understand how
so you
the
imagine
holes in
like
the
your
heart...
4 chambers of your heart, your top 2 chambers, basically you've got a wall there, septal wall, and mine was non-existent. It was pretty much gone. So there was a massive crossover of blood flow. So with the clot going into the lung and being broken down, it was bypassing the hole, and then tiny little clots would find its way to the brain. Fortunately, because I'd run and I was pretty fit, the other side of the chamber, the other side of the chamber was pushing the clot back.
Okay. So you ran a 225 marathon with like deoxygenated blood going around your system.
I was losing 25% of oxygen every heartbeat my whole life that I never knew about. I remember laughing, thinking like, no way. Like, 4 holes in my heart, like, you're having a laugh. But obviously it was. They showed me the scan, and then I remember phoning up Gabby and saying, Gab, look, I'm going to be a little bit later. They've just found this heart defect. And then it kind of hit home how serious it was, that I was going to need heart surgery and I had to get this fixed. But as I say, it was a really fortunate find. I'm so grateful they did find it.
Yeah, and I mean, you bounced back just absolutely amazingly and made such an incredible comeback to go and run, to get back to running full stop, but then to go and run even faster than you had before is absolutely incredible. And I think, a lot of people listening to this would be thinking, after a major surgery, there's no way, you'd be so scared to go out and run again and push your heart. So how was it getting back after that surgery for you? Was it scary, or could you just not wait to start running again? What was it like?
I think a bit of both, actually. Like, I was really nervous, but the doctors had kind of gave me the okay, gave me the nod that I could get back into it. I had a really good group at the time. Actually, Steph, like helped me out massively. We had a really good 6 a.m. run group where we used to all meet at 6 a.m. We would run together, and I'd missed running with them for so long that I was desperate to get back.
And we had to be so strict with you because you had the heart rate monitor on. You were like, I'm not allowed to go above like 130 beats per minute. And
I had to hold Steph back. You know, like, she was on the front pushing the pace. Steph, you've got to slow down for me. So I'd meet them 1 mile from the end of the run. I would drive there like 6 o'clock in the morning, wait for them to get to the point. We used to run maybe 10 miles, was it, like between 8 and 10 miles? And then it was like 1 mile and then 2 miles, 3 miles. It took a while. But I was just grateful that I could get back running. And also I felt like I'd been given a second chance. You know, I had a heart now that was working properly. It was like a legal EPO. It definitely felt like I could run some fast times, or quicker than I had done.
Did your body actually feel different afterwards?
Yeah, almost. I mean, I felt rough after having the surgery.
Of course.
But and also was initially in some some crappy like dark places. My daughter was, I think she was maybe 3 months. She was 6 months then, and poor Gabby, like trying to do everything, and I was just, I couldn't run. I was walking a little bit, and then just getting out of breath and getting tired. So it took a while to get back, but once I started running, I felt the physiological benefits straight away.
You had oxygen going to your muscles.
I definitely felt the benefits.
When you started on that journey coming back, did you ever imagine that you would, run even faster than you had before? Was there did you set goals straight away, or was it just being grateful for running and kind of seeing where it took you? What did that look like?
Yeah, I think I just wanted to run faster. I remember saying to the doctors, like, when you fix this, do you think I'll be able to run faster than I have done? Like as an athlete,
Probably not the normal question.
Yeah. For me, I was grateful to be back running, but I just wanted to get racing and just, see what I could run. Having this second chance, just wanted to get out there and try and run faster than I had done.
And then just for anyone else that maybe has experienced some symptoms, or even if they haven't, can you just quickly tell us, so cardiac risk in the young, which you mentioned a bit earlier, is where you went to go get the initial scan. Is that still something that's going on? So
cardiac risk in the young, they offer free health screenings for anyone aged between 18 and 35.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say to anyone, regardless if you have any heart issues, it's probably worth just getting checked out.
Mm-hmm.
For me, running 225, there's no way I would have thought that I had 4 holes in my heart. There's no way I thought that I would have to have heart surgery, but I did. So, and I didn't really have symptoms my whole life. It was only after that marathon. So I'd say anyone aged between 18 and 35, check out cardiac risk in the young. And anyone outside of those, go to your GP, go down, ask to have an ECG. That's what they're there for. Don't just assume it's nothing, because it might be something, and it could save your life.
You've obviously overcome some major personal barriers in your own journey, but you also help other people overcome barriers and get into running and improve their running with your coaching business, Real Runners.
Set it up in 2006, actually, whilst I was just finishing off my master's. And actually, initially, we did start working in schools. So it was just to go into school, to use positive role models, athletes, to inspire the kids to, participate in grassroots athletics. The sport was kind of dying out. This was before Junior Park Run, and so that's initially how it started. But then during COVID, all schools stopped, and we had to homeschool our kids, which was really hard work. So stopped working in schools, and then started doing a bit of online coaching, and just really enjoyed it. Actually, it was great, helping people, from 5k all the way up to the marathon. And during that period, it's gone nuts. We're coaching loads of people. It's good fun. I really enjoy it.
Yeah, that's awesome. And what do you think, as a coach, what do you see as the main barriers to people either getting into running or getting past that first bit and sticking to it. You know, the first bit where it isn't enjoyable, it's hard, and every run kind of hurts, and it's hard to get back out there. What are like the main barriers, and I guess how do you help people overcome them? What are your top tips?
I think the biggest barrier is time. You know, people have busy lifestyles, they might have family, and it's easy to kind of use that as an excuse of, I haven't got the time, so I'm going to park it up, I'm not going to do it. But, you know, I mean, you used to say this to Steph, like, you know, we all have 24 hours in our day, like, you know, and it's so true. Like, it's how you prioritize that time. So I think a lot of people will use time as an excuse, but, you know, for me, I try and get up at maybe 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning, get my run done, and then take the kids to school. Fortunately, I have a few mornings off where I can take the kids to school and then work and run again later in the evening. But I think, you know, time is the biggest barrier. So it's kind of planning how you can fit that run or that training in around your busy lifestyle. I mean, like now, cold weather, it's dark. I think, you know, safety is obviously something that, you know, people might not want to exercise outside because it is dark. So I think it's like trying to look at all these different barriers that we can overcome to make it work for the individual.
And what are you? Give us some top tips on overcoming those.
Yeah,
those
I think
two,
I think like time is definitely like to have a look at how you can fit that training in, and I think like just make it happen. Like, you know, no excuses. You know, like if you're going to commit to it, get up early and do your run if you haven't got the time in a day. So I think, you know, in terms of safety, maybe try and find a running partner or a buddy you can join an athletics club where there's other people, like-minded people that you can run with. I think sometimes people aim too high initially. I want to do a marathon. Okay, that's great, but if you run 5k, no. It's going to be hard work then, right? You know, so I think start off small, be sensible, be realistic.
That's why it's good having a coach though as well, because then you've got someone guiding you along. And I think if you're on your own and you've never done this before, it's almost quite hard it's easy to lose the motivation, because if you're trying to train for something, you're like, this is too hard, but actually just slow it down. You've got someone telling you, you know, we're just going to gradually ease into this and build up, and then you can tick those small boxes and feel rewarded. Yeah,
definitely. I think, you know, just having that accountability is obviously really important, but, you know, someone that's got your back, you know, it's easy also to, you know, just go out for these runs, just plodding one foot in front of the other. And that's great initially, but it gets to a point where it's boring and you get fed up with it. So, you know, mixing your training up, putting a bit of light intervals in there, or a bit of steady, bit of tempo work, just to keep it fun, keep them motivated.
And then, how do people get faster? What are the top tips to be a faster runner? Is there a magic formula that can work for all of us for us to get better?
Yeah, I mean, God, if I had that answer, I'd be a rich man. I think consistency is the most important thing, right? You know, it's just accept that it's going to be a long process, enjoy that journey, and just, you know, gradual increases in your volume and, you know, maybe just the intensity that you do. But there's no magic formula. Actually, there is hard work and consistency, right? And if you can stick through that through a period of time, your running will improve, providing you don't get hurt or injured. So, and just making sure, I think that there's also that easy days in there, that easy training. You see so many people just always redlining it, especially at the top, right? You know, I need to hit it hard. I need to push this every single day. And you see these guys or girls just digging a hole, and before they know it, they're so far in that hole that they're just broken. It's impossible to get out. So I think consistency and hard work.
Yeah, I give exactly the same answer when I'm asked, like, you know, what are your top tips for improvement? And it feels like a boring answer, but it's so true. It's just putting in the hard work day after day, and not necessarily going for, like, you know, smashing a session, because guaranteed you won't be able to smash every session that week if you absolutely nail yourself. But it's just stacking the bricks one on top of each other and
absolutely
building up gradually. But I think you kind of see that at obviously the top end, but also people getting into running.
Yeah.
And they're like, right, every run I'm going to go out and try and, go around this loop and try and beat my time every time. And it's like, God, I would hate running if I had to do that. It would be so hard, and you'd feel terrible.
I see at the track with the kids, like even Finley, he goes to the track with his mates, and every rep they want to race one another and run faster. And I think it's just listening to your body and just accept that you got to have hard days, and you do need a lot of easy days as well to recover.
Yeah, for sure. And then you mentioned Real Runners formed because you started working with schools and used very good young athletes as role models for these kids. Why is it so important for you that kids kind of get this extra exposure to activity beyond just normal school PE? And why was your business model to use these like GB or potential GB athletes as the coaches for them?
Yeah, I think like to use the coaches was, they're just, they're great role models. They epitomise like hard work, sticking with something and succeeding. And it, for these kids to see, the likes of Jack Rowe who did some stuff for us, and we got Josh Grace doing some stuff for us, and Joe Whitfield, brilliant athletes. These young kids get to see them racing on TV. And it's inspiring, right? There's my coach. They were coaching me on a Tuesday, and here they are in the European Championships, or hopefully things like the Olympics. So that was the reason why I wanted to use these coaches within the schools to inspire the kids. But I think teachers have, they're busy with numeracy and literacy and reports and marking. That they teach a PE lesson, which is fantastic. It's great. But they have to cater for obviously a whole class. Whereas if we can do the extracurriculum stuff, then you got like-minded kids that maybe, just they want to get involved in athletics, something a little bit more specific. And, we can help facilitate that, and then we can hopefully feed them into the local athletics club system. Or things like the London Youth Games, the London Mini Marathon, Junior Park Run. So yeah, I think that's, for us, that's the thing, helping to feed these kids back into the system, really. And they might be triple jumpers, or they might be a marathon runner, but it's just great to see them doing something that they enjoy, and then the community that they develop out within that circle, the friendship groups, and it's fantastic. And, we've seen loads of kids go to the English schools, do really well, and it's lovely, really. We've actually gone full circle where we've had it shows my age now, we've had some kids come to the club, and now they've finished university, and now they're doing some coaching work back into school.
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
And that's brilliant. That's lovely, that.
Yeah, it just shows like how much that gave to them, that experience as a kid of having, being part of the club, and that's awesome to see.
Yeah.
And your 3 children are all pretty good at running, aren't they?
Yeah, they are good. I reckon I've got maybe 24 months before my eldest starts kicking.
And how is he, 12 now?
He's 12, yeah.
Wow.
He's a fast, they're all pretty quick.
That's really
but
cool.
They do loads of other bits and pieces.
Is that something you've always encouraged them to get into running, or did it? Yeah. Is it just genes?
I think. I don't know. Possibly genes. But I think they see me running, right? So I look at my parents as like role models, and I guess they look at me and they're slightly inspired. Like see Dad getting up early in the morning, going out for a run. So they do like their running. But they are really good little football players, and they do a lot of sport, and I'm keen for them to do that rather than they're kids, right? They could happily watch YouTube or some crap on the TV for hours and hours. So if I can get them out in the garden playing football, or come for a little 2K, little trot with me.
It's so nice to see. I love watching your Instagram stories where you're just filming them, joining you for like your warm up for your session or something, or your cool down.
It helps me out.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, warming up and warming down's hard work. So if I can persuade like Poppy, my youngest, to come out for a 2K run with me, and she's great. Like, she'll tell me about her day, and before you know it, 2K's gone, and it's then try and persuade the other one to do a warm down with me.
Oh, that's so cool. And what a lovely way to like spend time with them as well and
Yeah.
build that relationship. And yeah, I can definitely relate. I feel like on a cool down, sometimes I just drag my dog out with me. She comes for a laugh just to get me through.
Yeah, no, it is great. But like I say, yeah, I'm keen for him to do. I love him, to do some running. It's brilliant, but just want him to do whatever they want. They all play football on a Sunday, which is a nightmare for Gabby and I because we have to almost choose our favourite child. Like, we haven't got a favourite child.
And fit your own running in. Like,
So-
where does long run fit in here?
Yeah, I mean, that's it. Like, I have to crack her at like 5:30 on a Sunday. I have to do, especially if
I
you've got
don't
like
know
a
how you do it.
20-mile run. And then
Yeah.
you finish that and then you go, you have to be a linesman in one of the kids' football matches. And just,
Oh, gosh.
God.
So anyone listening to this who thinks they don't have time to fit in their run today, you're wrong.
Yeah, get out there and
Just
do it.
wake up a
Make
bit
it happen.
earlier.
Yeah.
But that kind of goes on to why. So you're mid-40s now.
Yeah.
Why are you still committed as ever to keep going? Getting up at 5:30 on a Sunday to get your long run in. You're aiming for sub 2:20 marathon. Like, it's incredible. But what makes you still want to keep doing this?
Yeah, but like I said at the start, we're able to, right? We are. There's a lot of people out there that unfortunately can't do what we can do, and I love it. I do love it. I wouldn't do 20 miles on a Sunday if I didn't love it. But fortunate enough to be able to do this, we're all pretty good at it. So I just think whilst my body is able, I just want to try and pursue it and continue doing it for as long as possible. And I still think I can run fast. I still want to. Next year I'm 45, so I'd like to, see how close I could get to maybe the British record or something like that. So yeah, I definitely have aspirations to break in 2:20. I think I can. So we'll see. We've got the super shoes now, so hopefully they can help us out.
That's so exciting. I love that kind of attitude of just gratitude towards running and just the gratitude that it's something you can do, so go and do it.
Yeah.
I think especially in winter when it's hard to get out, I always try and remind myself, I'm just like, you're lucky you can do it, so go and do
Definitely.
it.
And running's exciting in the UK right now. Like,
Yeah.
it's really exciting. Like marathon running in particular, like seeing what, the women and the men are doing. It's, like even for me getting older, like I'm inspired by these youngsters running super fast, like yourself, like both of you guys. And, you look at like the results from Valencia at the weekend and seeing what Phil and Mohammed and, people like Emil are doing. It's really exciting, I think, for British athletics.
It's amazing to see what people are achieving, and I think the more people, it seems to be a bit of a snowball effect at the moment. There's a whole jump in both women and men's times, and just the more people achieve it, the more kind of possible it seems, and you're like, well, what could I do? And
Definitely.
it's so inspiring.
You look at like the women's marathon. I mean, the fact like you get so many girls now running like 2:22, 2:23. People maybe like 2:30 now, whereas a few years ago it seemed like, how many people can we get under it? I think that's it now. That's your bare minimum, right? We can go out there, we can do this.
Yeah.
People believe that they can do that. And the same with the men. Now the fact that we got 3 guys running I think Mo ran it as well. So we've got 4 guys running 2:08.
Yeah.
Hopefully that's just going to push the boundaries. And
It makes me kind of wonder like how much is mental in the marathon, and it must be quite a big chunk because obviously, it goes through waves of you get people kind of coming up into marathon running who are really talented, and there are improvements in shoes and everything, but a big chunk of it must be that mental barrier and seeing other people doing it so you believe you can.
Absolutely.
Okay, so our final question that we ask all our guests is, what's your high five me moment? So the moment that you'd give yourself a high five, and you can take it all the way back to when you were a child as well, any moment.
Do you know, I guess for me, my high five moment would probably be winning the Surrey League cross country after having I think it was like 11 months after having heart surgery, winning Division 1 Surrey League. That was pretty special.
Richmond Park.
I remember it. That was good. And there were some good athletes there. Yeah. Phil Sussman was second that day. So I remember Phil coming up to me and saying, Kev, like, who should I worry about today? and Luke Caldwell was there, and I said, "Oh, Luke," but secretly I thought maybe I might have a shot here. I think for me, actually, just going through what I'd gone through, being like in a bit of a dark place, 10 months beforehand, and then 11 months later, coming back and winning the Surrey League, something that I'd been trying to do for 20 years beforehand.
Yeah.
That for me was definitely like a high five moment.
Oh, 100%.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
So.
And I'm sure everyone in that race gave you a massive high five
everyone
as
was
well.
so lovely. Like, I mean, I remember, they were just so kind and so happy for me. That was definitely. Actually, winning the virtual New York Marathon was pretty cool. As well. That was great because I think my name's up there with all the great Kenyans, and then there's Kev Quinn from Carshalton.
Laps of Dulwich Park.
Cool.
Yeah. So that was
some virtual high fives there.
Yeah, definitely virtually the best thing I've done.
Very
amazing. Cool. Kev, thanks so much for coming on the podcast
guys.
And chatting. It's just been amazing to hear about your story, and wow, what an inspiration. So
thank you very
for
much.
sharing.
Thanks for having us, guys.
Thanks for joining us. £5 easy.
See you next time.